So hello, welcome to Second Scene Podcast. My name is Michael. I am a TV host and your host for what we call, again, the Second Scene Podcast. I am here today with Annabelle B. Baumann. Annabelle started a career as a business English trainer for corporate clients and then moved to Germany, where she went to live in 2005. She has somehow morphed her career into a stand-up comedian. She hosts workshops, she does performances, and she also uses her stand-up and her comedy to motivate others with her own business. So please welcome Annabelle.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where are you located right now?
I'm outside of Heidelberg, Germany, in a small town called Neckargemünd.
Okay.
Yeah, very small town. I call it Strudelbach when I talk about it in my comedy.
Okay. What brought you to Germany?
A man.
Okay.
Over his back, in a basket. No, well, yes, we met in Boston. Oh my goodness, somewhere around 2005. No, way before that, 1998. Yeah, 1998.
That's a big difference in years. Yeah.
Exactly. 2005, we moved to Germany.
Okay. So, I guess he's German, I'm guessing?
Yes, he is German, and he's an only child, so he had to come home.
Oh, so he threw you over his back and dragged you to Germany. Did you speak German at the time?
Ironically, the fast answer is no. But when I met my husband, who was, we met in a bar in Dorchester, outside of Boston. The first thing I said to him when I heard him speaking German is, ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. I speak a little German, and I've been saying that ever since.
Do you speak it? Have you picked it up now?
A little, yeah.
A little?
It's not easy. It's not an easy language to pick up.
I am terrible at languages, so I'm trying to learn Spanish right now myself, planning to possibly move to Spain. And yeah, I can't imagine German. That's a whole other level of language, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, I guess Spanish might be like roller skates, and German is rollerblades. So I was able to do roller skates.
There you go. That works. So how did you get into, did you start stand-up comedy before you got to Germany?
No, and honestly, I am... I was born in the 60s, so I have to say that I was one of those girls who were like, planning my wedding and then retiring. That was my plan. And then, so I did marry once. I have two beautiful children who are now in their 30s. And I honestly, I did have this idea in my mind that I sort of wanted to be in the background. I sort of wanted to retire early to housewifehood. And then what happened? I was trying to blend in, African-American woman in Germany trying to blend in. Only one everywhere I go. And when I'm not the only one, I'm like, I should be the only one. Like, there's another one.
Oh, no.
So no, it's what? But anyway, so I think I did sort of have a little bit of, I had to learn. I had to kind of come out of that. And what brought me out of that around, I don't know, let's say 2015, 2016, I saw something that said, I read a meme that said, why are you trying to fit in when you were born to stand out? And I thought, that's it. That's why I can't hide. Like, I'm trying to hide, but I can't hide. I'm like one of those people that just takes up space. So, and then I dyed it. I was with a friend, and my hair was black at the time. I was teaching business English, and I was with a friend, and this was 2019, I want to say. And I had said to her, I want to dye my hair white. Man, she was part of the military. And we were at the military base. And when I said, I think I want to dye my hair white, she was like, come on, let's do it. She took me immediately over to the hairdresser. And I was like, wait, because I was really trying to blend in at that point. But I was into comedy. I was starting to do, I had 2 minutes. They would give you, when you first started here in Germany, they would give you 2 minutes time on stage.
Right.
And I got into it, to step back a little bit. I got into it because when I read that meme that said, "Why are you trying to fit in when you were born to stand out?" I decided to join Toastmasters, which is a speaking club for people who want to be public speakers or want to speak better.
Gotcha. And they have English versions of all these out in Germany?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's great.
And then there's virtual as well, so you can do any language, really. But they do have an English club in Heidelberg outside. And so I found them, and that's where I found my voice. And I was like, I have something to say. I want to communicate. I want to talk about communication. And then when I left Toastmasters, I was thinking, how can I use my public speaking now that I've started on this path? And, I just thought, I love clubs. I love being out at night. I love drinking. I could become a stand-up comedian. Yeah, so that's what sort of was the impetus for that. And then once I started doing that, that's when I said to my friend, I think I want to dye my hair white. She takes me immediately over there. And it's funny because I lost my job because my hair was white.
Really?
I did.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, because this company I work for, I still work for them, but what it is it's a manufacturing company, and I was working for the headquarters. And at the headquarters, it's very, they have a style there. They have a way of doing things. And so when I showed up with this white hair, and I was always, like I said, I was always standing out a little bit anyway, even normal. So then once I dyed my hair white, it was like I had put, a siren on top of a dumpster fire. So.
Did they take you aside and were like, what did you do?
I know. It sort of seeped out in sort of we're not that creative, or they sort of said it, but they said it in a way that it was kind of like, it's us, not you.
We're not an art studio. We're corporate.
Exactly. We can't go there with you. But ironically, I still work for the factory, and this is a company that creates sinks for the kitchen. Yeah, sinks for the kitchen. And yeah, I'm there. They do, I go through the factory. I do all sorts of factory tours and everything. And they are absolutely love me there. But in the headquarters, they were like, sorry, no.
Wow. Is a lot of Germany like that, where it's very strict, very opinionated, or very, I guess, very corporate, very stiff?
Yeah. And what they do, though, to their credit, what they try to do a lot of times is sort of, there's sort of this German saying, it's Geschmackssache, which means it's taste. It's a matter of taste. If you're doing that, it's a matter of taste. It's not my taste, but it's a matter of taste.
Okay.
So they say, oh, it's Geschmackssache, but they're letting you know it's not it's not the ruler. You're on the edge.
Does it feel judgmental? Does it feel?
Yeah, it can feel judgmental.
Yeah.
It sure can. And I think that's why I started writing a book last year. I don't know, maybe last summer, that I've titled 100 Days in Strudelbach, to sort of deal with this sort of this cantankerousness I've had to deal with. And Strudelbach, I talk about Strudelbach in my stand-up comedy, and it's this idea of living somewhere, like you said, that sort of sees you as an outlier,
Right.
and yeah, and how do you deal with that? And I feel like Germany like impacted me, and I impacted it. So we just it was like
Got you. Was your boyfriend or your husband? I guess you're not remarried.
I am
Oh,
so
you're
this is
remarried.
my second husband.
Okay,
Yeah,
so was
my
your
second husband.
husband supportive of this new blonde hair and you losing your job?
And me losing my yeah. Why? Yeah, I hung on by a thread.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm really lucky. I really am lucky because my husband, who is German, he is an only child, and really, like if you took somebody and gave them a silver spoon and put them in Moses's cradle, that would be my husband. And but when he came to Boston, like I said, 1997, I believe it was, for his company, which is a big IT company, and they had bought the smaller company that he worked for, and his English was not so great then, so he didn't speak fluent English, but he could speak English. But I was living in Dorchester, and anyone who knows Dorchester and the East Coast, he would come in his Audi 5 and be like, "Is my car okay here?" And looking around like, yeah. So he really sort of plucked me from where I was.
Wow. Wow.
And it
That's
was, yeah.
that's
Oh,
wild. What a change! What a change! What a change for you.
exactly, exactly. And it was, people say a fairy tale, and even I say a fairy tale sometimes. But then a fairy tale can go bad as well. And it hasn't been him. I've been very lucky. I have a very supportive husband. Um, but like I said, being who I am, um, I can butt up against things. Like in Germany, everyone stands at the crosswalk like for an hour. Sometimes I'm thinking, is there life on the other side of the street? Can we get across the street? But if the light doesn't change, nobody moves. And there's even, and I say to my husband, I'm like, the light is a suggestion. That's all it is. It's a suggestion.
Yeah. Are there
But
guards
they
that are
don't
going to
believe
arrest you?
that.
Will you get arrested if you cross the street at
Yeah,
the?
yeah,
Yeah.
they have guys with this on their back, that says traffic cop, and they look to see who is going against the light.
Well, then that'll keep you from that'll
Yeah,
keep you
yeah,
from
yeah.
crossing it.
I'm a renegade. I'm
Yeah.
doing it like on the side.
Have you been pulled over walking for for crossing the
Yeah,
street at the
get
wrong time?
pulled over walking or walking drunk. Yeah, you can.
It sounds like you have lots of fun.
Exactly. It really is.
So you went from corporate, dyed your hair blonde, and now you're doing stand up. And I know you're doing motivational courses online as well with comedy. How has the stand up been? Like I know stand up. I've done stand up once or twice now, and I know how. Or actually, no, I'm sorry, three times. Two successful, one not, and then I stopped. So, how does it feel when you get up on that stage, especially at the beginning when you were first doing it?
I honestly feel like the first time was easier than every other time because the first time is kind of like people are, they say, "Oh, it's her first time," and it's almost like you're a toddler. Everyone's like, "Yeah, okay, great." And then after that, people sort of are like, "Okay, now you're a comedian, so make me laugh."
Yeah, don't waste my time.
Exactly. Yeah,
You're-
the crowd can get really sort of heady, and it's art to be able to get people out of their heads and be
yeah,
able to have them have a natural reaction, to be able to communicate at a level where they feel like it's a friendship, a bond that you're creating rapport with the room.
Right.
And it doesn't always happen. You're right. I mean, it doesn't always happen. And when you get in these really small rooms where you have like 5 people, and the bartender's like shaking ice in the back of the room, and somebody's yelling. It's like almost impossible, but you still have to do it. You still have to stay present and produce. It's a good practice. Yeah.
How often do you get on stage nowadays?
Well, now that we've come out of COVID, now we're coming into the new year. I would say maybe 3 or 4 times a month I'm actually on stage.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah. So I try to stay out there to sort of hone the craft of my persona, of my sort of my set, because like I said, I talk about being in this small town, this Strudelbach, Germany, and how when I first came, they were having this big bonfire, and they come to the house with torches, and they come and get me, and I'm like, so it's a lot of sort of misunderstanding. It's kind of for me like, do you know Garrison Keeler from Lake Wobegon? Did you
Mm-mm.
ever get into that? No?
No, no.
Oh, okay. It's called a Prairie Home Companion. And he
Yeah.
has a whole line of talking about this imaginary city that he's from. And it's somewhere in Minnesota. And it's like where all the men are strong and all the women are beautiful, or something that he does. It's great. It's Garrison Keeler.
Okay. Have you done comedy in the States since you've been doing this? Have you done stand up when you've come back?
I have.
Is it different? Is the comedy have to be different between Germans and Americans?
It does. I mean, people catch quicker in the US. Like, you don't need to like sort of beat them on the head or go slow, so then it's a matter of making sure that you sort of pick up your pace a little bit more, because when people don't speak English as a first language, and being a language teacher first, that's what I came and did in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
I have a sense sort of like so slowly bringing them along with the joke. And when I went to Boston and New York and did stand up there, you have a sense that I do some jokes about, I was doing, when I started, I was doing some jokes about sort of being a Barbie, or this sort of Barbie mentality. And really, it was old. When I got to the U.S., it was kind of like, that's a dated reference. Everyone was talking about Kim Kardashian and other stuff. So the reference didn't hit where, it was, I don't know, sort of niche
Gotcha.
in Germany. But there it was kind of like, people expected me to be a lot more sophisticated than I actually came across, I think. So
Oh no, at least if that's what you thought they were asking for, I guess. That's
yeah, exactly. And it's almost the same thing that you have, music and people drinking, and you're trying to like do a set and get the room, and then the room is a weird size, and it's a lot of things are going on. And so it's hard to sort of stay in that lane of connection, to try to connect with people who are like at the bar and they're talking, and you have people over here. And so, but it's all part of it. And for me, it is all part of it. And all I want to do is like get better and better at producing the kind of comedy that I want to produce, which is, sort of this Black woman, fish out of water. I really do come from a poor family. We were 8. I say, I wasn't raised in a family. I was raised in a pack. And I have the scars to prove
wow.
it. So, yeah, so I've come from there all the way to this other society, which has Mozart, and which has, all this baked cookies and, Yeah, so it's like making the two things come together.
Yeah. What? How contrasting. How has the transition been for you? Has that?
Well, I had to come out of my shell. Honestly, when I came, I truly was like, I'm married and I'm going to just fit in. And then I found that there honestly was kind of no way for me to fit in because I'm a visible minority. I mean, like
Right.
if I was white, maybe I would have the 5 seconds before I opened my mouth where they would think you're one of us. But when you're actual visible minority, you don't get that time where you can just keep your mouth closed and everyone sort of assumes you're one of the crowd, one a German or whatever because you're white.
Mhm.
So I had a lot of time when I first, the first couple of years, a lot of times people say, "Are you from Africa?" And I used to think, why do they think I'm from Africa? Like, what says I'm from Africa? you know, but this is just my mentality because of being raised in America. And then when I actually thought about it, Africa is actually closer to Germany. And so they see more Africans than they see African Americans or Black
So it
Americans.
makes sense. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes sense. But of course, I took it like, what? You think I'm African? And I had this attitude, and I don't even know why I had such an attitude about it. Um, yeah, I think it because, and the attitude came from growing up in Chicago, Indiana, coming from Indiana. And I remember when Roots came out, I don't even remember. I was like 12 or something when Roots came out, 10 maybe. And people would say, "Hey, Kunta Kinte," or "Hey, Kizzy," and so there was this whole like, "Don't call me Kizzy." You had this whole thing about being African
Hmm.
then. And there wasn't this pride in my own family. My own family was like, "We're from here." So I didn't have all of that pride that people build up in a family. And I was alone and I didn't really have anyone to reflect with when I first came. Yeah, because, this one guy, I remember he used to say all the time, when I came, there was no coffee to go. Like that did
They
not
just they
exist.
hadn't heard of it in
They
Germany yet,
hadn't
was
heard
it?
of it. No, they hadn't heard of it. And so it was crazy. But okay, so I stumbled along. And then they got a coffee cup, but they had no lid. So you would be driving in the car with your coffee cup, and they couldn't think to get a lid for this. And then one of a friend of my husband's would love to say to me all the time, "I want a coffee Togo." Togo, because Togo is in Africa. A coffee Togo. And they had this joke for like ever, and I was like, ugh, I am so over that. So,
That's hilarious. Have you felt accepted there? How have people accepted you?
it's been a mixed bag. It's been funny for the most part, and it goes both ways. Like I said, like some of it is just my understanding coming from America. Like let's see, what's a good example? Um, Expecting customer service. Like I remember we went out to a restaurant when I first got here. We went out to a cocktail restaurant, and I said, can I have a martini with 2 olives?" And they were like, "What?" And I said, "A martini with 2 olives." And she was like, "More than one?" And I'm like, "What? You have to open another jar? What's the
Got
problem?"
to get the manager. Got to get the manager.
Exactly. Let's get the manager about this. And that's what it was. And my husband, who is the kindest person in the world, but he is like sinking down. He's like, "Just get what's on the menu." And I'm American. I don't have to get what's on the menu. I can have it my way. That's what I know is that everything can be done my way.
Right.
And here they're like, "No, no, no, no." They don't want you to add anything. And so when a friend came to visit, and I took her to this schnitzel restaurant, which is famous here, and she was like, "Oh, I'll have the water and I'll have the schnitzel on the side and not the fries, but I'll have the salad." And I'm like, "No, no, just eat it the way it comes. Just take it the way they bring it." Because here comes the chef out of the kitchen. I mean, they really do. They get very upset if you try to change something. It's like they cannot fathom how to change. So it's
That's funny because us Americans, we customize everything.
Exactly. And that's what I thought. Now I don't. Now I might say something like, "Can I have salad instead of fries?" But they can say no just as well as they say yes. And
do that?
Okay. Okay, you can't do it.
Don't they have Google reviews there? Isn't it?
They do have Google reviews, and I've reviewed some stuff as well. Yeah. But customer service, no, they don't have it. They feel like you are the one who needs to be waiting. You are the one who needs to, be on their time. Whereas we're used to, as long as you're paying for whatever it is, it's your time.
That's fascinating. I wonder why it's such a different mentality when it comes to that.
I think the bigger cities like Berlin and Frankfurt and things, it's not that way. But you get in these little hovels, these little villages where, the baker's married to the butcher and they want to open on Tuesday and Friday on a full moon, and they have enough money. None of these people work because most of them just work to have enough money. They don't work to just like Americans. Like I'm gonna work from dawn till dawn. No, they're like 6 hours. That's it. Or if I have my own business, I'm gonna come in when I need money, and then not at all. And you're calling. You're like, "Please come, please, please."
Wow,
No, if you want.
No, go on.
No, I was just going to say, if you want someone to fix something, you need to call someone who's broke. That's the only person that will be able to fix them.
Is there a separate listing in the Yellow Pages for that? Is there?
Yeah, broke. Yeah,
broke.
I'm broke. I need work. They need to have a second listing for that.
So is it a very small town that you're in? Is it, okay.
It is. It is. Like, we have a bakery in our town. And we used to have and we still have a post office, but it's sort of moved. It moved, but there's still a post office. And we're up on a hill. Now, once you go down the hill, there's more things, but our town is very small. And that's why I decided, to protect the innocent, to talk about Strudelbach. And I created this whole town in my mind of Strudelbach and how things happen in Strudelbach. To protect the innocent.
Got you. So what's the name of the book that you already have out? What's the name of that book?
That book is called Girl, You Ain't Crazy. Okay. And Girl, You Ain't Crazy came about because I wanted to write a self-help book. I started, like I told you, with Toastmasters and moved into wanting to be a motivational speaker, on the lines of Lisa Nichols or in that vein. Kyle Cease, a humorous motivational speaker. And so I decided to write a book, and because my experiences have been this idea of learning, and that's why I became a communication coach, because I was teaching English, but there's a difference between speaking a language and being able to communicate. Because you can speak English and still not be able to communicate your message well. And so that's why I wanted to talk about that, because I had learned that I was a diverse thinker, and it sort of troubled me through school because I wasn't able to I can't think linearly. Like, I think like a starburst burst, like all over the place, like a scatter map, instead of being able to sort of follow. And that had people in school, I mean, most of my life saying, "Are you crazy?" And I heard it so much to where I was like, "No, don't say that to me anymore." But yeah, and I did get a diagnosis for schizophrenia, and I had to work through that. And so I think I
Wow.
touch on that in the book as well. So it's this idea of being yourself and writing your own story. That's why I wrote that book, Girl, You Ain't Crazy.
Got you. Yeah, a lot of us have mental health issues. I just went through some panic attacks myself that I'm trying to recover from. So I understand.
Yeah, right. And that's the other thing, is trying to, it's weird because even on stage, you'll hear people talk about, blue comics. So this idea of talking about, your sex life, or talking about your anatomy. I'm trying to stay on top of this blue language. We can do all of that, but for some reason, when it comes to talking about mental health, everyone shuts down. It's like we can talk about our bodily functions and how we have sex on top or below, but when it comes to mental health, we're like, no, don't want to talk about that. So
It's true. I think it's being afraid to be judged and people judging.
yeah, exactly. But it's weird because we're not afraid of people judging us by what we say about our sex life, though.
It's true.
And I don't know why. And I'm thinking about comedians. They'll get on stage and talk about, their financials and everything, but the people are still reticent to say, I'm having mental problems.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, and it's needed so that people understand, and people have people to connect with, and know that they're not crazy, and know that they're just like everyone else. So we talk a lot about mental health in this podcast. So
good. That it has to be talked about. And like I said, one thing that I learned is this idea of, being an abstract thinker and being a concrete thinker, and how people communicate differently. And I mean, even, I can't think of the name of the book about, like, there's a book about love languages and what you actually need. Do you need to hear words? Do you need to get gifts? What is your love language? That was a great book that I read. And it is called Love Language. And yeah, this idea that people don't understand. I mean, if you've read or done any of the personality stuff, like, the MBTI, Myers-Briggs, or any of these, we are all different, and we're all coming at one another, and we need to find a way to, to understand one another's messages. And that's what I'm about now, is building in that communication.
Oh, well, you're an excellent communicator, or at least you have been on this podcast. So yeah. I appreciate it. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so I have, it's called linktr.ee /B Baumann.
Okay,
so,
BEE
BAUMANN. Yeah.
There you go. We'll post the link below the podcast as well, so people can reach it easily.
Okay. Yeah, and then you can see everything I'm up to on Linktree, and contact me there. I'd love for people to talk to me about communication there. Sign up for my mailing list as well.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really had a nice time talking to you.
I enjoyed it as well, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. So this has been a Second Scene podcast. Again, we're a Dweebs Global production podcast. We do it for Dweebs Global. They are a nonprofit organization. They give free mentorship help around the world, every language, anything from mental health to resume writing. dweebsglobal.org. See y'all next week.